I went full-blown hiatus. I deleted everything. I was like, I'm done. Can't stand online. The internet sucks. I'm done with this place. Like, just let me be a hermit. And then I was a hermit for 10 years.
So you're basically a Valkyrie for us in the authorship world.
100%. I have a sword.
You mentioned tabletop. One of your books is based on your tabletop old character. So just like nerd out with me for a second about tabletop, please. What have you played? What have you done?
I'm a huge horror fan, so I actually started my game mastering in Call of Cthulhu as horror GM, and that was my thing for a really long time. Like, people were like, we're going to Jules for horror GMing, because like I was like, I want glory and death and carnage, but in like the best possible way, and Cthulhu and all of that.
Insanity.
The cosmic horror space is just amazing. I'm obsessed with aliens, so it all of those things kind of like go hand in hand, and sci-fi in general. So tabletop for me started in that space. I tried getting into D&D specifically a lot, but the rules felt very constricting to me, to my play style. So I ended up exploring a lot of other systems. I did City of Mist. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's a really interesting system. It's based on the Apocalypse tags system. And so it's very open-ended, very much less about the rules and more about storytelling, which kind of fits with my whole obsession really with writing and storytelling in general. So I ended up doing City of Mist, and in the process of doing that, I got asked by the game creator to do their launch for a new expansion for that. So that was like, it kind of became this whole thing, and I've always loved the tabletop space. I know that there's obviously controversy in every hobby, but my experiences have been, for the most part, very, very good. And storytelling is such an intrinsic part of who I am that if I get a chance to sit at a table with somebody, even if it's for just like a one shot, I'm there for it. I'm like, yes, let's tell some stories. Let's go. So yeah, that's
Have you played the Traveler play system?
Not yet. It's on my list. Finding people to play with has been more difficult in recent years.
all the time. So I had a previous group that I played D&D with, and then like we moved to add Traveler to like the week's worth of play. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, some people moved in, some people moved out. Holding a tabletop group is, man, it's one of the most, it's almost harder than running a business.
Yeah, sometimes.
yeah. Because you're like, oh, I can't make it this week. And it's like, the reason we pick a day is so everyone comes on the same time and we play for a couple hours. Stop having a life.
Yes. Stop being an adult. Knock it off.
Right. Oh, well, you're going to fit in great here. So you also talked about 2 other manuscripts. Just give us a quick overview of like this mastermind of projects that you're working on.
So the debut is my space opera. Like I said, Mass Effect is a huge, probably my most favorite game series of all time. It has Greek tragedy. The storytelling is phenomenal. The character development and the hooks for character is phenomenal. The fact that we have this vast universe of world building and exploration, and it hits all the notes of your found family on the ship. It hits like all the really big tropes without feeling like it's been done before, I guess. And so Mass Effect is a huge influence for me in general, just because that's kind of peak storytelling when it comes to interactive media for me. And Battlestar Galactica, I grew up on that show, so it influences me no matter what. I love the themes, and as I grew older, rewatching it, you learn new things about the show, as you do with a lot of things that you rewatch. And then in The Expanse, when that came out, I damn near lost my mind. I was like, oh my God, finally a new sci-fi that I can enjoy. And it was so fun. Season 1 especially hooked me so hard. I was like, oh my God, I want to live in this world right now. Just consume everything about it. And it was very well executed. I know there's, mixed opinions on the ending and all that, but hey, overall, beautifully done. Political, galactic, stability, all the things that I loved about Battlestar, and the cultures that they established in space, and the whole thing really is really beautifully made. Great storytelling, and so that's a huge influence in my debut space opera. I will say,
I love Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan. I don't know what it is about it, right? You articulated it so well for why you like it. To me, I like space operas. I like space horror. Anything to do with space. And there's not a lot of horror in Mass Effect, but there's something, and I think you nailed it on the head. There's something about the way the game plays, the way that the characters are introduced, the arc of them. It just draws me in. So very cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other Mass Effect fans out of curiosity?
I have not been able to game in a while because I am a workaholic. We'll just call it what it is.
Okay.
No need to sugarcoat it. The last game that I played was Apex, and I would just like grind. I hit Diamond once, twice. I don't know if you FPS at all, but I love RPGs. Back in the day, it was Earthbound was incredible. Loved Earthbound. Yeah. Did buy during COVID the Final Fantasy VII revised edition, and I love Final Fantasy VII. It is always near and dear to my heart. I wish they did a remake of 8, but I did a little research. Somebody deleted the files, and so they literally have to from the ground up rebuild the whole thing. And they're like, we don't think we'll make that much money from it, so we're not going to do that. But yeah, and then RTS. I don't know if you play any RTS.
Used to, yep.
StarCraft, World of Warcraft. Yeah. Then there's this obscure game that has just a special place in my heart called Majesty. It was like a 1990s, late 1990s, early 2000s, where you're a king, and it's RTS, but you don't control the characters. So you're just a king who gets to put bounties on stuff to encourage your guys to go do things, but they don't have to. It's like The Sims meets an RTS where you don't get to control your characters. It was super hard.
Interesting. Okay.
Special place in my heart. Shout out to whoever made that game. But I do miss the gaming because it's just a fun, which is probably why I love reading, because it's just you step into a new world. You get to experience new stuff, new characters, new worlds, new magic systems, all that stuff. Josh plays Pong.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm the black sheep of this podcast family, where I am not into gaming. I played Skyrim for a season when I was unemployed right after college. I got super into Skyrim, but that's about it.
Yeah. And he's in finance.
And I work in finance. I usually have a vest on. I don't wear a vest. I didn't wear a vest today.
Yeah, this is the first time he hasn't come in a 3-piece suit. We told him to just chill
But he
out
can't afford Patagonia vest. It's only a knockoff vest.
Fair enough.
Kirkland brand.
So, Jules, I found you on Threads because you are building a platform. Now, I want to pause for a second. I want to talk about the origin of the platform, because we probably grew up in the same era of piracy, Napster, Kazaa, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I want to ask you, like, having grown up in that, like, how does that affect how you're coming at this platform you're building? Because AI exists, and like authors spend so much time working on these books that they put labor of love into, and then like somebody can literally just copy paste, and now like OpenAI has access to it, right? So like talk to me about the inspiration of this platform.
Yeah, so I have been writing stories and keeping them private for a really long time. And I kind of got to the point in life where I was like, I want to be focused on this, like storytelling. I did the corporate thing for a while. So I have a lot of technology background. I've built systems. I've done all sorts of crazy stuff when it comes to compliance and security. I've helped other people create empires. And I thought to myself, I want to build something for me. And so that's kind of where the first story really was like, I want to make this more than just kind of my thoughts on a page. I want to really outline this and put it into something real. And then one story led to another, and then another. And I realized, man, I had a lot waiting in my brain to be put down. And then I kind of paused and I was looking at the landscape. At this point, I had been off of social media for about 10 years. And I went full blown hiatus. I deleted everything. I was like, I'm done. Can't stand online. The internet sucks. I'm done with this place. Like, just let me be a hermit. And then I was a hermit for 10 years. I came back online kind of from an observer perspective for about a year. And I was like, man, writing's changed. Like, I had followed previously, authors that had published work, and it was more quiet. People weren't shouting, hey, I'm writing a book, or hey, go read my book, and this is also before Amazon really took foothold on a lot of things, and before SaaS kind of took over the software space, and it was such a different landscape. And then I come back and I'm like, man, what universe am I in? And so I kind of was like, I don't know if I want to publish, because I look around the corner and every other comment or post I see is, oh, my book's on a pirated website, or somebody stole my work, or they fed it into this AI, or they're saying I'm AI. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is actually crazy. We're living in a space where we can't even respect artistic work because we're pushing it through technology and saying that it's progression. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. As somebody who studied technology, I almost went into AI before AI is what it is today. I looked at it and I was like, that's a lot of math. No, thank you. And I went and did just general software engineering. So, AI for me was not generative AI or the LLMs that we now know today. When I was starting in the technology sector, I saw AI as smart math and programmatic behavior, not learned behavior. And so everything was human controlled still. And then, like I said, came back and I was like, Chat GPT, like what? Oh, I come back from being basically a little bear in my cave, and then there's like the entire world's completely changed. And so after pausing and rethinking, I thought to myself, hey, I know how to build stuff, so why don't I just build a platform that I'd be comfortable sharing my work on? And I made a prototype, and I was like, you know what? Actually, this could work. Like, I could make something of this. And so I joined Threads, and Threads is pretty much the only platform that I feel very comfortable using because it's less toxic, I will say. I mean, yeah, all social medias, but it's easier to deal with. And so I was like, yeah, I could get behind Threads. So I started talking to other authors, and I was talking to readers and editors and all sorts of folks in the industries. And it kind of became this repetitive message. Like, the universe was screaming at me like, hey, you've been building this thing. Other people are asking for it without directly asking for it. And so I said, nobody's going to see it anyway. So here I go. I start making my Threads post with a couple screenshots of my prototype, and it blew up. I was like, oh dear. Yeah. What have I done?
That's how I found you.
Yeah. I didn't expect it. I really didn't. I kind of was flabbergasted because before then I would get like maybe 2 or 3 people that would engage with me on the Threads, and that was fine. That was enough for me. Like, I was like, oh, cool, people that are normal. Great. And then that happened, and I was like, I actually think that this needs to be in the world, like actually fully in its complete, from idea to execution, has to exist in this world somehow. And then at that point, because I had already built it for myself, I had decided it needs to be free and it needs to be accessible. And yeah, go ahead. I see you've got a burning question.
So you talk about free. Are you going to open source it, or is it just going to be your owned platform, right? Because they're two different things. For those in the tech world, it's like, if it's open source, you're kind of giving everybody access to it. If it's free, because you talked about earlier, like, you've used Linux and things like that, like, clearly you have a strong tech background.
Yes.
So that's my question: is it free, owned by Jules, or is it open source, owned by the community?
So when I say free, I mean you don't need to pay to access the platform.
Yeah. Okay.
I have debated back and forth since I built the prototype if I want to open source the code. I do believe that open source code is actually more secure than 99% of corporate software. So
Yes.
there is something to say about that. However, what I would prefer to do is build a strong community of developers that are also authors so that they have the same goal in mind before I go down that route. And so if you happen to see this and you're like, hey, yeah, I want to contribute, I would love to do that. I just want to make sure people's heart is in the right place, because it's very easy for open source projects to go down the drain, unfortunately. And so free as in user access, 100%. All features will always be free. I refuse to allow that to become a paywall thing. Now, there has to be a method to paying. I know I'm not.
I was about to bring that up, where it's like you got to have server costs, right? Like user login, like there's infrastructure that needs to get paid for. So that's my follow up is like, how do we contribute as a community to make sure that you aren't just like on a pet project that we all benefit from until you're like, I can't afford this, and then people are like, well, why didn't you tell us? You know?
Yes, yeah. So I will be doing a pay what you want model. If people want to contribute one time an amount, that's fine. If they want to do a monthly thing, that's fine. I would like to work with ideally some illustrators who maybe want to provide some kind of cosmetics so people don't feel like they're just throwing money at another subscription, something along like to give, something fun to their profiles, maybe, whatever it might be. But the core structure will definitely be a pay what you want model. There'll be an option to, hey, here's what our server costs. I also do believe in financial transparency. So all of transactions will be public. Obviously, the payments will be hashed and all that, but the actual server costs, receipts, the whole nine is going to be. This is what it really costs to operate something like this, and obviously, there's another aspect of that, which is if we have many contributions, what happens to the excess funds? So there needs to be a lot of work, very transparently, very publicly, to say this is what happens with that money. If we get to a point where we need more storage space, that money can go there. Or maybe we're like, hey guys, it would be really great if Jules could do this 24/7 full time. Let's give some money to her, whatever it is. But the point is, it has to be transparent and it has to be a public type of thing. I'm not interested in putting things behind closed doors. That's just not my style. So that's kind of my thought process on the payment access. And then eventually, hopefully, cross my fingers, open source can become a realistic option.
To help support it financially, do you think that you'll offer some type of like sponsorships, and without those becoming like ads? I think we're all bombarded with ads now. With everything that all the content we consume, but just curious about that.
100% agreed. No ads. not interested. So for sponsorships, I think that would be good. For example, some people have offered like to design a logo. Okay, great. I would love to disclose this is who created this logo. I will, link to whatever the website is, right? But I have zero interest in sponsorships from huge companies. I'm sorry. I just don't. I would rather us support the community within the community. It stays grassroots that way. The moment you start getting to do business with larger companies,
comes with strings.
It always comes with strings. Always. I lived it for a long time. So yeah, for me, it would be out of the goodness of people's hearts. If they're interested in creating a sustainable model for us, that's great. Otherwise, I'll do what I got to do to keep it going. That's
very
just
cool.
Yeah.
So I want to push on the ads for just a second. Would you allow authors? So like, let's say you have 10,000 authors on the thing, and some of them are struggling to get ARC and beta readers. Would you let them say, "Hey, Jules, can I pay $100 for the month to like be at the like have a small sponsored, hey, this is a recommended person"?
So they don't have to do that. Actually, one of the features I'm going to be building in is a discovery space. And
great.
So debut authors, for example, will have a little debut badge. So if they're publishing for the first time ever, people can literally go and search by the debut badge and say, hey, I want to support a debut author.
That's cool.
I will also be having randomized, rotating what's new on the shelves. And hey, there's this arc that's open. Here is a beta that's open for people. And I did speak with quite a bit of authors on kind of applications that they would expect to have for people who want to do certain things. So we'll be building a social reputation system into the platform as well. So for example, the reason why this is going to have to exist is because we are trusting each other, right? We as in the author to reader relationship to say, hey, I'm going to give you free access to this book that is not published. Aside from the fact that we expect ethically for you not to steal our work and put it into generative AI, and the platform obviously is going to be designed to protect against that. But also, if you're getting something like this for free, I would expect that you, in a social contract with me, give me feedback. But if you don't open this book that I gave you for free because you applied for it, then you're not going to get access to my future books. And so it's kind of, it's a way for us to hold each other accountable without being invasive, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Will people who, so I've applied for your book, Jules. I actually happen to get busy, but you've given it to me and I haven't offered any feedback. I haven't even opened it. Right?
Yeah.
Will I have the ability to like, hey, can I put this back? Right?
Yeah. Reshelve it. Yep.
Okay. Cool. That's great. Man,
Yeah.
you've thought out this platform really, really thoroughly.
Yeah.
I have a little notebook. I sit around, I bring this everywhere, literally. And so I have my little color charts. Yeah. The notebook is the way to go. Absolutely. And so I have all these little color tabs that I use based on the type of development that I want or a feature. Yeah. See, post-it color note. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so I go
my
in
tabs. My tabs are a little bit scrunched, but there's my tabs too.
I love it. I love it. See, this is the way, guys. Take note.
This is the way.
It's just a journal club. Pull out your journals. You don't have to read from it. But
everybody, get your journals out.
I want to play around, play along.
Yes, I love it. I've got like 4 or 5 others throughout the house. So I have one for each manuscript. I leave them around, and they all have these little pencil things because I always lose my writing implements. And so if I get an idea, I'll just go run over to wherever that book is and write it down and then carry on with my day. But yeah, keeping it on my phone for some reason, I've tried the notes on the phone thing, and it's like it goes into the ether. It doesn't exist after I've written it down. So the hard copies just...
Do you have a favorite journal brand that you like?
Oh, what is this one called? I've already forgotten. It's like some obscure random one, but it's got grid paper instead of lines, and I'm obsessed with that. So
yeah,
I don't
like
even
the dots.
Know. Oh, dots are good too. The dots are good
because sometimes I
you
draw.
Want some dots? There's some dots. I love the dots.
Camera's not picking it up, but yes.
Good. $700 camera can't pick up dots.
Technology.
And so I'm a technophile, Jules, early adopter. So when anything comes out, I'll try it once. I've told the story before, but I was the only kid in my high school with a pager because I wanted to try it out. My mom and my friend paged me. That's it. But the point, I cannot, for the life of me, my brain just breaks when I take notes in my phone. I like Luddite when it comes to journaling and taking notes. I just can't.
I wonder if it's the physical act of like writing, like the hand movement and like the brain connection. It's got to be something to do with it. Sorry, Josh,
absolutely
I didn't interrupt you.
Well, I was going to say I'm the odd man out again here because like I do make notes on my phone. And the reason is because I find it helpful to be able to search for things. And I'm like, oh, I made a note about this. And then I'm able to search for it. Or I'm also making a lot of notes about like stuff I need to do around my house. And that's helpful for when I go to Home Depot, like having measurements written out as I'm working on my house. But I do resonate with the physical act of writing things out. That is, I do like to do that. So
I live in both worlds. I've got Google Notes or Google Keep Notes. I love that. It keeps everything synced. I've built my life technologically around if you steal or break my devices right now, I can literally just go buy a new one and all my cloud stuff gets restored. Because I was a filmmaker for a while, and like proper data backups and proper data retention. Oh my God. I've lost too many. Can I just tell you guys a quick embarrassing story? This week, I got a client that I do work for, and I am a moron. I deleted footage because I was moving too quickly. And I had to go buy a data restore program this week because I deleted the footage because I'm like zipping between multiple hard drives. So yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that story? Sorry to like sidetrack us here, but that story of when Pixar was creating Toy Story and the entire movie was like deleted.
Sounds familiar.
And it was there was a backup saved on somebody's personal computer that they had taken home because they were on maternity leave or something, and so then they were able to like be able to recreate the movie based on that one backup. But
wow,
I don't know, it's just very interesting as we've like moved over into this like digital world, how that like changes just like how things are stored.
That's true.
I don't know.
I think we all remember a time before cloud storage even existed. So
stacks of CDs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I remember floppies.
Floppy
I remember
disks,
stacks of CDs.
5.5 inch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Playing Oregon Trail on the
I
black
love
and green
Oregon
screen.
Trail. Oh my God.
Too bad you died of dysentery. Sorry, Jules.
Every time.
You could not ford the river.
No.
Someone starved.
Yes. Yeah. It was a brutal game, actually.
Oh. So it looks like lately, as of like, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago, you posted on Threads again that you have been working on the UI, right?
Yes.
You're testing out some color palettes. How's that going?
So great. It's great. It's that my brain works the same way with writing, which is I do a thing and then I'm like, oh my God, what if I also do these 10 other things that I hadn't previously planned? So yeah, that it's going really well though. I'm pretty happy with the color palettes, like the scheme. I'm a dark mode person. I can't do bright screens. So everything I do is designed around dark mode. And I did make a poll. I know only 4 people answered, so shame on you guys. It's your own fault. I'm only doing dark mode. And so, but it's like this kind of neutral slate color and then like a desaturated like mossy green. So it's very neutral.
Yeah, I'm looking at it
and
now.
calm.
It's very nice.
Thank you. I was gonna go for my usual, which is mostly like dark and red, but then I was like, maybe that'll be a little too aggro for people, so I'll go green.
Yeah.
So we got the green, and I'm also super big into Vikings and Norse mythology. So I might throw some things. I was like, you know what would be really appropriate? Hugin and Munin.
Runes.
Well, the Ravens. What if they're my mascots? I don't know. I'm just saying.
I love ravens. On our Slava hassles me on the different accounts that I follow on our Instagram, but I follow a ravens and a crows like Instagram of just people who are befriending them. It is federally illegal to own a raven.
Wait, what?
Because they're smart enough that you can teach them to steal.
Oh.
So, do with that what you will. I may or may not be befriending the local ravens.
Entertainment purposes only.
I've been trying to befriend the
is...
crows we have here, so yeah. I feel that.
This is not, bird advice for anybody. Please speak to your local bird authorities before taking any action.
Josh seemed to get excited over Norse mythology or Vikings mentioned. I'm
so
curious
it's
about
just
this.
It's funny because in a previous interview we just did this morning, Norse mythology came up, and I was just like, had a brain fart, like just blanking on like the different names of. So I was like, oh yeah, I know Thor and Thor.
But he started with,
like
I love
Loki.
Norse mythology.
Yeah,
Thor.
Well, it even started funnier because we're talking about Sisyphus and
Icarus.
And he's like, "Oh man, I've never read the classics." We were like, "That's the wrong genre,
mythology.
buddy." And then
put myself out here.
That's all fun. Like we all have our.
I forgive you.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Oh man. But yeah, do the Raven as your mascot. I love that.
I was thinking, I was like, it's really appropriate because the entire system is built on role context specific switching. So if you sign up as an author and you decide, hey, I also want to help read books, you can also just turn on the reader version and use the little toggle and go to reader mode. And so it changes what's on your UI when you do that. And so I was like, man, it's great because, you know, Hugin, Munin, thought, memory, it all comes together. And also ravens are very frequently associated with literary writing and poetry and all those things. So I thought, you know, hey, why not? Plus ravens are super cool. So, you know.
Quote the Raven.
Yeah.
Nevermore.
So
I have been attacked by a raven before. I don't know if it was somebody who had trained the raven to steal from me.
Yeah,
this has actually happened twice in the same spot, probably by the same raven. When I was biking down in downtown Grand Rapids, this raven just like swooped down and like I felt it like hit my head. And I mean, you know, I was like, what just hit me? And I turned around and I just saw this raven flying up, you know, this tree. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. And like, I don't know, a few months later, I was biking in the same spot and like the same thing happened.
Did you insult its mother?
Must have. I don't know.
Must have.
I don't know what I did to this guy.
They remember people.
Yeah. They're very smart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe don't go biking there anymore.
Yeah.
So Jules, with the platform, by the way, we haven't mentioned it on the show yet, but it's thing.pub for everybody, right? If I upload my manuscript, is there a way that you're going to like watermark it so that you will know if someone pulled it down, scraped it, whatever, and it's like, oh, hey, that got brought to you by things.pub, and here's the username that's associated with it, or IP address or whatever, to like, not necessarily, like, I don't want to say legally go after them, but like legally go after them, right?
You will absolutely legally go after them. There's actually a reader terms. I'm working with an attorney right now to make sure everything's kosher, but yes, there is watermarking. So one of the things that I'm doing a little bit differently, because I felt that it was the most secure way, is something called device fingerprinting. You're probably familiar with it, given your background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we installed that in our thing that we were doing.
Yeah, so we have, I'm allowing a maximum of 2 devices at a time to be synced to access. And the reason for that is because it's less likely to be shared. And basically the moment that you use your access code from invitation to join the platform, it marks that particular physical device as the one that you're using to access. Now, I know some people have multiple devices that they work on, so I'm allowing a second one. And if I can figure out how to get a non-piratable version of EPUB or maybe some other proprietary thing, then I'll allow for a third e-ink reader device separately, but only that. And so that's a harder problem to solve given the proprietary nature of most of those types of devices. But the fingerprinting is part of it, and that fingerprint is associated to each user. And so what will happen is when you access the manuscript, your user information is watermarked into that manuscript, both visually, and there's going to be some other proprietary methods that are used to embed that information. So if you did try to run it through AI, it wouldn't be pulled out. So there's a couple of really, I know you're familiar, Jonathan, with different methods of using cryptography to help create secure documents and how to leave traces behind. But the intention is absolutely to have traceability. And there's basically a kill switch as well. So if you do certain dev console actions or attempts to circumvent the system, it'll lock you out completely. And then it'll notify me on a security audit log that says, hey, this user attempted to do these actions. And again, everything will be provided up front to let people know, hey, guess what? I am going to make sure you're not trying to do some janky stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. So use this platform with the understanding that I'm not trying to keep your data or anything like that. This is just a security measure. But if you do those things, you will be banned. That's it.
I love that.
I can't fathom a world where we had to do this, but here we are. And so, got to do what we can to protect the work that people are doing.
So you're basically a Valkyrie for us in the authorship world.
100%. I have a sword. I didn't bring it with me today, but I do have a sword in the other room.
Yeah, you should have.
It's quite heavy.
So, I bet. I have a question now about agents and publishers. How do they get involved, right? Like, I want to see this. Here's the thing. I am not yet a published author. I worked on a book with a friend of mine for 7 years. We can talk about that if you want to. But I want this thing to succeed. So, like, how are the people, and I also am a businessman, so, like, I know this thing needs to make some money. Not like, I'm not talking, Hershey's chocolate profiteering, right? But, like, something to, like, let you do it full time potentially, and, like, also just pay for server costs and things. So, like, how do agents, in your mind, how are agents going to be able to use it to find new authors? How are publishers going to be able to use it? And I'm thinking, like, indie publishers, not necessarily like the Amazons, right?
Yeah. I think that for larger scale, especially independent publishers that are kind of that smaller scale that you're talking about, or even, bookstores, indie bookstores.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mention that.
I would love to just speak with some of them to figure out what kind of workflow would make the most sense for them, because I can do a lot of things, but because I don't live in that space and I don't work in that world, I don't know what the best options are. For me on this platform, I'm very much in the mindset of, if it can be thought of, I can build it. And if I can't build it, I'm going to find somebody who can help me do it. And so I do believe that there is a space and value for agents and publishers to both be involved in the platform itself, as far as being able to discover authors. One of the things I've been toying around with, and I gotta figure out the best method to execute it, is you've already been building, basically, assuming we're this author, we've built an entire book library, right, of things that we've published on within the platform, and now it's out in the world and purchasable in all these places. Why not allow for them to link to those places that those books can then be purchased? Because right now I'm not in a space where thing.pub would serve as a platform to sell, but who knows? Future, I'm not going to say no to anything at this point, because you never know. But for agents and publishers, why not, if they're accessing a public profile, maybe the author can show a public version of their profile of all the books that they've published, or they're actively working on these manuscripts, and it's a visual representation, maybe even like almost like a author resume style, rather than having to have everything hidden behind closed doors in that regard. So it's an excellent question. I just feel like I would need to talk to some people that actually work in that field, so that I know and understand what their needs are before I build something for it.
Yeah, makes sense. So I have a question. What about volunteers? If people want to volunteer their time, effort, expertise to this project, where can they go and sign up?
So on thing.pub, if you go there today, there is a sign up option there that has an optional survey for the early adopters. And that's kind of like my early group of, like, hey, we're willing to test, or hey, I have a marketing background, let me help with, socials, or hey,
I just did that, and I have a marketing background. That's what I just put in your sign up sheet.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's the best way to do it. And that way I get the survey information. And when I'm ready for that step, I can be like, hey, you mentioned that you were able to help with this. I'm trying to XYZ in the next 3-4 months. What do you think? I will be launching a Discord. I know right now Discord's kind of back and forth about things with the whole age verification stuff, but I feel like I need an active, like, live space for the community at this point, for people who want to actually have engaging conversations. And also, when I get down to the testing phase, when they're like going hard stress test on like security and things like that, I feel like sitting in like a voice call would probably be the easiest. Be like, all right, guys, I need you guys to try to break everything you can right this second, so I can see what the system's doing. And just kind of do some live tests that way too, along with other test plans. There's a million things to do.
A million things.
Yeah.
I have a question about, I feel like authors and just creators have been warned about piracy since Napster, right? And really, I guess I'm curious, like, why is AI different, or is it different?
Ooh, loaded question. Okay. So AI in the sense that the less nuanced answer, which is yes, AI is different. The nuanced response would be generative AI is specifically different. And that when we're talking about training models, and I won't go too tech heavy, but when we talk about, okay, we have a computer, right, in front of us, and we say, into Google, I type I search for a specific author name. If somebody's book has been pirated, the likelihood of their name showing up and directing to the pirated website is substantially higher than to their own website, which means that they're losing income. Now, there is something to say about that. People who pirate books or anything for that matter are less likely to even buy it anyway. So you're really not losing the income from that perspective, but it still sucks. I mean, it's still your work being stolen. So from that perspective, it's more of a psychological protection than it is a financial one. Yes, you could theoretically go after people, but that requires lawyers and money that those authors probably don't have to fight those battles. They can send cease and desists. I know that there are programs or services out there that you can sign up and they do the cease and desists on your behalf, but that also costs money. So, it's just depending on how the battles you want to fight. So when it comes to AI, is it different? Yes. Is technology or theft of work different? No, that's not new. This is just one step to help reduce it. There's no system on earth that can completely prevent something from being stolen, right? We can't. We do our best. So I don't know if that answers your question fully.
No, that does. And I think that, as like technology evolves, then like the way that we protect proprietary things like needs to also evolve, and so it's great.
Yeah, there is also something to piggyback off of that, which is recent news. A lot of actual publishers have said that they will be using AI, and I know that that's a big fear for a lot of authors. You spend all this time and you expect a human being to read your work and respond with a yes or no, and that's not happening a lot anymore, and that's a problem.
Yeah, my Kindle has an AI feature where I can ask it questions about the book I'm reading.
Yep.
As a technophile, I'm not at all behind that one bit.
So earlier, I think I heard you mention culture over commerce. Do you think that the publishing industry is just like fundamentally broken or behind? Or like, what are your opinions on that?
I'm shooting myself in the foot for a future career here, but that's okay. I actually have no particular intentions of going trad pub at all, ever. Not unless something majorly changes. And so I believe that a lot of our systems are fundamentally flawed in society right now. And I won't go into the deep rail on that because there are books. I'm writing a book that examines a lot of that. But as far as publishing goes, the entire system is broken because you think about it this way. You write a book. Some people spend decades writing said book. Sometimes they shelve it, go to other things, try again, go back and forth, back and forth. If you're going the traditional route, then you go to query. You have to research who you're going to query. Then you have to submit your query. And then you have to wait. And maybe you'll get a response. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll get a kind rejection if you're lucky. Or if you're really, really lucky, you'll get a full request. But that doesn't mean you've made it. The full request then goes to thank you or no thank you, and may or may not lead to representation. And then it's still not done. You say you secure representation. 6 months later, the agent's like, I can't sell this book. And then you're done. And that's it. And now you start all over again, and you're 12 months down the line, having gone through all that effort. So yeah, the system's broken because it shouldn't be like that. Because by the time that book reaches market, okay, let me continue backing up. Okay, you get representation. They sell the book. Publisher picks it up. Then it's still another 12 months before it even hits the shelves. Now you're 2 years in. What now? I mean, you got to be basically clairvoyant to figure out what the market's going to be like in 2 years, right? And that's the other problem. The publishers and the big retailers are what's setting the market. So if you want to write science fiction, and the market, according to those agents or publishers, is not science fiction right now, well, guess what? You're going to sit on that manuscript for as long as it takes for the market to catch up. And so how is that, like, I don't get it. Art is art, no matter what. You know, you don't have a painter going and being like, oh, you know what? Nobody wants gray sculptures right now, so I'll wait on that. Like, come on. If you want that sculpture, just make the sculpture. Like, writing is art. And so why are we at the mercy of consumer market when it's all about the exploration of the human mind and our human experience translated on paper, right? Like, it's words on pages that we get to read, and we hopefully see a new perspective when we read somebody else's work.
Yeah.
Or maybe we see something that we relate to and we feel less alone, right?
That's our thing here. Like, both Jonathan and I have numerous times said, when reading a book and then discussing it, oh, this character really appeals to me. And the one that's, you know, bar none, the top character that we've talked about is this girl named Ciri from the Brandon Sanderson's Warbreaker.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the 17-year-old girl is like a mirror to me, because the way she reacts, and if you read the book, the way she reacts to things, whether it's her dad's love, lack of thereof, or when she's with the king in his bedchambers. Now, obviously, I've never been with the king in his bedchambers, but the way she reacts with humor and sarcasm, and moments where it's flight or fight, Ciri doesn't fight. She might choose her battles wisely, and sometimes maybe it's not wisdom, it is fear. So there's a little bit of flight. But most of the time, when push comes to shove, she gets in the fray. And those kind of stories are like what keeps me from going insane a lot of times. I know as a kid, coming up from my background, this is, you know, maybe a grim way of saying it, a macabre way of saying it, but if I didn't have Stephen King or Dean Koontz or Alstein, I probably would have jumped off a bridge when I was a kid. And those things in extreme situations, or just enjoying the hell out of a book 40 years later, reading about Ciri. We need stories. Like, it's a necessity. There's just no way around it.
I agree. And that's the sad part about the current trend is, if you don't have the money, which it costs $2,000-$3,000+ just to self-publish a single book, and you're lucky if you can recoup that at the end, like once you've actually put it out there. And a lot of people argue, well, if traditional publishing isn't the way to go, just go indie. And I'm like, well, a lot of people can't. They can't afford to do that. They have these stories that they can tell, but they can't actually publish on their own because it's financially not possible. So I think there is something to be said about, I would love to see more change in the industry. I don't really have a solution in my mind on what that might look like, so I don't want to be too critical of it, but something should change, whether that's better relationships between publishers and smaller authors, more competition as far as publishers go. Maybe more publishers equals better circumstances for authors. I don't know, but economics says if there's more competition, usually the free market becomes better. So
yeah, if we're going to be true capitalists, let's right?
Let's actually do it the right way,
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that stands out to me is, okay, in the current state, because I live, sometimes I feel like I live in a two bodies, the future self and the present self. And so I think about, like, yeah, what's the ideal? Can we move that direction? I feel like you're doing that with thing.pub. But we live today, right?
Yeah.
So, like, indie authors, you talk about they don't have the money, like, all that stuff's true. Kickstarters don't always work for them, things like that, right? Like, so is there going to be space on thing.pub for, hey, I want to get into audiobook narration. Can I, like, solicit a book that I've read that I enjoy that's an indie and go, hey, could I just do this? And, like, they create some sort of agreement on the platform that, like, is locked in somehow. But then the author can say, hey, I'm going to sunset. Like, I'm actually able to afford someone now who will get me more publicity. Thanks for helping out. Something like that, where just, like, the community can rally around each other. And that won't work for everyone either. But there is no solution that's going to work for everybody.
Yeah.
But if we can move us that direction, like, that'd be cool.
So yeah, I mean, my big wish is for thing.pub to be a home for everything that is authors and readers. And that would include audio narration, whether I provide the actual contractual stuff. I'm not sure. I would want to explore a little bit more about that, on what that would actually take, because that's legal terms, and then who holds responsibility if something were to go wrong. There's a lot of things to consider from that perspective. However, one of the if you look at the screenshot, I have a community tab, and that is intended for things like that, where, hey, I'm looking for a reader, here I'm looking for XYZ. So it would be phenomenal for other resources to be a part of that community who solely focus on, or at least want to focus part of their business on, developing independent published books. Or maybe there is a space, like we talked about, for indie bookstores to be listed in the community section, where they're like, hey, we're taking some new books on, please send your recommendations, and they submit it through thing.pub. Those types of things, I can see that happening, because again, the people are already going to be there, so there's not a reason not to provide opportunities. And like I said, if there's people that watch this and they're like, hey, I have a really great idea, reach out to me, let me know. I'm absolutely, I know this cannot be built in a vacuum. While I'm a solo dev, I am listening to everybody and saying, hey, what makes sense, what doesn't. And if it can't work, I will try my best to explain why not. Usually it's a not yet, not a absolutely not. And so, yeah.
I would love to see, if we're throwing ideas out here,
Yeah.
I love ideating. I would love to see a list of indie bookstores that like the community could rally around, to have like a Google map where it's like, hey, I'm in this city for work, for whatever. I want to know the local indie bookstores that I can pop into, so I don't have to go to Barnes and Noble. Right?
I love that idea.
Right? It's fun.
It.
Especially in dark
Yes.
mode. Because then it kind of feels like, I don't know if you ever played Ingress, the game that Pokemon Go is built on.
Oh, I didn't play it, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Niantic built a system. Anyway, there's blue, neon, cyan, all the things, whatever. Data collection through gaming.
Yeah. I love that idea. I think that would be great. I like the map idea. I hadn't considered something like that. That wouldn't be too bad, though. You just search by city.
Yeah, and you could also be like, hey, where's a collection of authors? And like, hey, you then, Jules, could say, hey, we're doing an author event in this city because there's a bunch of people here in this genre or whatever. Yeah,
I do have on the profile wireframing right now for authors, there's an event section, so they can put their like, hey, I'm going to be here on these days, and then a cool little export button for people's calendars. But I would love to do things like that's the type of features that I would love to implement, is like, hey, indie bookstore location. Here's book clubs, even that could be another option too, is like, hey, this is a book club for this area, or whatever. I mean, there's definitely a lot of opportunities for something like that. So
awesome I'm suggestion. A data guy. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a data guy. I love analytics. Our bookstore is going to get, hey, there's like 5,000 thriller readers in your area in case you wanted to run a thriller event.
Yes. So all profiles, it's obviously opt-in. So I'm not a opt-out by default person. I'm an opt-in by default. When you set up your profile on thing.pub, whether you're author or reader, doesn't matter. You can select the genres that you're interested in. And so what will happen is the platform, without AI, normal algorithms, will be like, oh, you like thrillers. Here's all the thriller stuff that's happening. And it'll cycle through, the thriller related items. Or you like sci-fi. Great. Here's all the sci-fi books that are recently published. Here's all the different things. Oh, you said you also really like to do beta reading specifically. Great. Here's all the beta specific sci-fi books that are available for application to join that team. So all of that will be there. I'm also very big on data, but for me, to make the platform viable and respectful is to build trust by saying, hey, by default, your information is private to you. The only thing that's exposed to the author is whether or not you read what they have given you, so that they can make informed decisions whether or not to invite you again. That's mutual trust. So those types of things. But the sentiment heat map, that's aggregate data. That won't be something specific to the reader. So the author will see, hey, you got a lot of hang time on chapter 6. Something's maybe going on there you might want to look at. But yeah, so that's the
the heat map thing I didn't even think about, but that's incredible. And then like, are people going to be able to submit their like pre-built, I don't even know what the words are, like their audiobook beforehand to see like, hey, here's a beta version of my audiobook, and then it's like, oh man, people are like getting stuck on chapter 6, and you go, oh, okay, well,
yeah,
let's probably do something about that.
Multi-format will be a thing. Somebody else that came to the threads comment was like, hey, I write graphic novels. Is there going to be a way for me to do graphic novels? And I was like, I haven't thought in that box yet because the formatting is going to be different, but I would love to do that because that's absolutely a medium. So same thing with audio. Absolutely.
Do you have that thing? I can't even remember what platform it is, but it's like a public roadmap where like people can vote on the features they want. So
I don't have that. I have, I'm really basic. I'm on GitHub right now, but I do need a voting platform of some kind. So yeah.
To let you know what to prioritize. I'm just geeking out. I love tech. I love tech and books. Like Jules, you're doing an incredible thing.
Thank you.
I'm hogging the conversation though. I'll let the other boys chat.
Yeah, so I want to ask a question that kind of shifts gears here. I'm curious if there are any books or authors that have really had an impact on your life, Jules, or that you've really resonated with.
That is a really great question. So I have spent the majority of my young adult life reading a lot of nonfiction. And that comes to a lot of technology books. So probably most things that people won't hear about, programming books, those types of things. In recent years, I would say Brandon Sanderson for sure. Like as far as more known now authors, I will also say Tolkien was an influence in things that I don't like. Not to say that it's bad. The writing is just the prose style. Granted, when it was written, it makes sense, but does not work for my brain. It's very hard for me to get through. So I've learned a lot by reading different genres as well, things that I normally wouldn't pick up. So I can understand the things that I wouldn't like to do in my books. So as far as like one specific one, I would say no, because I mix a lot of my knowledge and space across as much as possible that time barely allows. And so I think I find more influence with video games than I do reading as far as like one notable. So again, bringing Mass Effect back up, it was a huge contributor to my creative thought process because gaming for me was always an outlet, even when I was younger. And Drew Karpyshyn specifically, I know he also is a writer, but Drew is fantastic. I mean, it doesn't matter what he writes, basically. Like everything he writes is a gold mine for me. So if I had to, if like gun to head, like pick one person, I'd be like, okay, Drew Karpyshyn, that's the one. So he has an astounding talent as far as probably less known, I would say. Like if you're not into that space, you probably don't ever read anything from him. But for the more notable, Brandon Sanderson, I listened to his I think it was his 2024 writers. Oh yeah, I see all the books now. I've listened to that his lectures a couple of times on repeat because it just gets into your brain and helps a lot. Like the thing is Brandon specifically is very common sense to me. Like when he speaks about the way things are in a story or plot or character, I'm like, yeah, of course. Like the logic, the common sense is there, but the repetition of it keeps it like in the subconscious when I start writing. And sometimes I find myself, if I'm in the car and I'm just having a little bit of a block, because I like to dictate my books while I'm driving sometimes. I don't know why. It's that multitasking helps loosen whatever's going on in my brain. But sometimes I'll just put up one of his lectures, even though I've listened to it like a million times, and just listen to it again. And I'll hear something new, like, oh, I don't remember him saying that before. What do you mean? And so as far as those go, Drew Karpyshyn and probably Brandon Sanderson more recently would be my kind of two big shout outs, I would say.
Yeah, we're familiar with Drew Karpyshyn. We covered his Darth Bane series on this podcast. And when I did research on him and I found out he was a writer for Mass Effect, I was like, well, this is why Darth Bane trilogy is so well paced. He wrote Mass Effect. Of course he would pace this well. But I was going to ask you, to whatever level you're comfortable, share a little bit about your Cyberpunk book, because I love Cyberpunk and I love slow burn. So when you said a slow burn, my words, more heady Cyberpunk, I'm already intrigued. So without spoiling too much, I'd like to hear about that story.
Sure. Yeah. So it is a 3-person kind of third close POV, past tense. That's how I write. I don't know why. Just my brain is like past tense. It's already happened. But the core of the story really focuses on what would happen if we as a society have become so obsessed with creating utopia by any means necessary. We use technology to influence our behavior, which we already do. Social media is kind of the core antagonist of my novel. And I don't mean that in a traditional sense. I mean that it has become so natural to society that they don't even realize that social media is what created how we react as a population. It's groupthink mentality and the dangers of it. It's agreement to the consensus without ever questioning it, a loss of critical thinking. So in that way, it evaluates how we accept what we have been presented with as fact and truth, and never question it, and what would happen to our society if that was the path that we decided to stay on. So that's like the big P plot, as Brandon would say, and without spoilers. And then the smaller pieces examine mental health and trauma as a result of feeling as a constant other in society, which unfortunately for me, I have personally been a part of, which is why I went to hermit state for so long. It is an acceptance that we are flawed and that's okay. So that is why I say my cyberpunk is very cerebral in that regard, because it doesn't use the common cyberpunk tropes of action, heist, or something over there. Now, there are obviously, to keep pacing and movement going, those things and elements do exist. But if you examine the themes, you start to realize, oh, wow, this is really psychological. This is really about our mental state and the emotions that we experience as we react to our environment and other people who are influenced by things that are outside of ourselves. And especially, I mentioned the critical thinking is, I remember I was on my phone because I couldn't get to sleep and it was 4 a.m. And I just had this, I had a personal experience with a family member that really struck a chord with me, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And I started writing. And I was, I'm going to get emotional. I started crying because I was writing this experience, and I realized that this particular element of the human, like, expression of us wanting to relate so badly to somebody and then realizing we're never been on the same page, right? That kind of moment. And then I thought, what's contributed to that recently? And all I could think of was social media. The internet has created a unsustainable model of perfection. Yet, if we don't achieve it, we have failed and we are less than. And so that's kind of the entire core of the book when it comes to the emotional and mental themes, is it really dives into the breakdown experience of being put aside because you don't fit within one space or one label.
Wow.
So.
that's really, really cool. It's a great plug for the book.
I appreciate it. Yeah. And there's action, there's a little bit of romance, there's some, as the book will do, but yeah. So that's the deeper part of it, though.
Yeah, a common theme recently in this podcast, just because of the books we read and covered, is processing trauma through writing, or processing heavy things through writing. And we read a book by author named Debbie Show, and her sister's a scam artist, and messed up the family, parents abusive, drunks, all the stuff. And she wrote, there's a new cover, but that cover comes up on searches too. And she wrote her story in two POVs, one in modern day America, that's the Abigail character, and then Yasmina, which is a woman in Morocco going through her own stuff, and their family stories converge. But she only wrote it to process her dysfunctional, horrible childhood.
Yeah.
And she's now a psychologist in California that helps families process this. And what that conversation prompted is me writing my, short story novella, which is a horror novella about a little kid growing up in an abusive household, which I did. Yeah. And the whole process of rewriting certain aspects of an event that is the inciting incident helped me process that. So writing can be, and I've said this 1,000 times, but writing can be a very powerful tool for that.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Jonathan, you said you were writing something as well. Did I hear that correct before?
You did hear that correctly. It has been a hot minute since I have, I want to say had time to write, but, it's better to be honest with ourselves. That's something I say on here all the time is I haven't made time to write because of the state of my workaholism, for better or worse. There was a 7-year stint with a good friend of mine who's been on the podcast here, Christopher, and we worked on a book that we wanted to be at the same caliber as Lord of the Rings. It was steampunk meets Victorian, aesthetic, because I hadn't seen that at the time. So let's see, we stopped working on it. So that's probably like 2014 to 2021, roughly, maybe 2013 to 2020 that we were working on it. And then he started working third shift, so like we couldn't meet anymore. But it was a part-time job. We'd get together 3 nights a week for 3 hours a night. World building. We've got languages started. We've got 40 characters. I've got a document that we call the almost complete history of everything because, it's important to be kitschy as well.
Yeah.
And like the origin of these races, and, it's because it's fantasy. And I miss it, frankly. Like, yeah. I absolutely miss it. There were times where he and I like, hey, is there just a wiki we can go to that, like, we don't even care about us writing the book. We just want it to exist.
Yeah.
Right. But it's hard. Like, you have to absolutely be disciplined with your calendar, and sometimes you just can't.
That's true. That's very, very true.
Yeah. But similar to kind of what both you guys were talking about is like one of the things that I told Christopher when we were writing, because it's like, well, how do we, what themes do we want? I said, let's just, and I didn't know the term at the time of like pantsing, right? Where it's just like, let's just write and see what comes out. Because I firmly believe that from the mouth, the heart speaks. Right.
Yes.
So if we're writing in that same fashion, then we have the opportunity to go, we will brush up the themes. We're not going to publish the first draft. So like we will brush up the themes afterwards. We'll prune anything that's like, well, this doesn't really go anywhere. And then things are like, oh, hey, we're noticing that there's like this element of call it chosen family or something like that, where it's like there's a fellowship of sorts, to use language that people could relate with. Where people are kind of forced into a situation, and then there's a group of people that are around them to help trying to achieve the goals. And then there's the political intrigue of the noble families, and then like the magic system and all that jazz. But it's like, okay, it's this forced or chosen family element that is like constantly being brought up. Even with one of the main villains, it's like he was forced into a family because I will call them the equivalent of the orcs for conversational purposes. They purposefully try to spread their wings across the land by when they give birth at the age of like 3 or whatever, they will go start dropping the kids off as orphans in different towns to like make them get raised and picked up by people to then like they have the initial, evil stuff inside of them, whatever. And then like other people raise them and then whatever. So, and sleeper. Yeah. I mean, basically.
Yeah.
And, but it's like that same thing of like, torn away from family or like forced into family. So those themes just kind of come out, and it's like, oh, okay, then it seems like that's what we're writing about, you know?
Yeah. I think
So
that there's a lot of writers, I would say at least some, especially earlier on, as they're kind of exploring their author voice and learning that. And Slava, you might also relate to this in your own novella, but where we, at least for me, I had to pause a lot, especially when I was man, the mental and emotional exhaustion, reliving and going through those moments. But it is so cathartic when you finally get everything that's kind of been like building up within you about a specific moment or like a memory that you have that's been informing that scene or that writing. And I think that there's something really magical that happens because I think this relates as an art form to a lot of other artists as well. Like painters do the same thing where they explore a lot of their trauma by creating physically with paints or, sculpting or clay or those types of different things. And so I'm not surprised that as writers, we have a lot of people who also feel that their stories are a way of processing the traumas or just things that they can't reconcile, right? There's like this question that you're like, how do I comprehend what's happened? Not necessarily that it was a trauma, because it might not be, but how do we reconcile the world that we thought existed with the reality that we've been faced with? And I think that that's what's so amazing about books, because you think about the history of books. I mean, books have started revolutions. So there is something to be said about that as an art form. And that's probably why I'm so protective of it as a form, because it's so important to human history, at least in my opinion.
mm-hmm. Well, as we wind down here, Jules, want to just have people have the opportunity to like, where can they find you? Clearly on Threads, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jules.Mourne, we'll drop it in the comments as well. Thing.pub, this massive platform, and I know it's not massive yet, but I just believe it will be, right? Like you're doing something huge for the community that everyone can take an opportunity to both like receive benefit from and also contribute to.
Yes.
So like, is there anywhere else people can find you? How can they contribute? Like financially, skills wise, whatever, like the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Yeah, those are the best two places to keep everything sane for me. The form that I mentioned on thing.pub. If you go there, it's just a landing page right now. Eventually it will just become the platform, and then the intake process will just go through that. But before that happens, the survey that's there, you'll see it specifically called out to fill out. If you do have skills or knowledge or support in any way that you want to provide, that would be the best way to do it. Or you can just reach out directly to me on Threads if you prefer just to have a conversation. I will say I really value face-to-face conversations like this over just being online. Call me old school, but I love getting into a voice or video call and just kind of throwing stuff out there. I had one person reach out that was interested in doing design. We got on a call, realized, hey, it wasn't a fit. That's okay. No problem. But we wouldn't have been able to do that as easily, I think, if it wasn't in that video call. So I think that that's important. So for people who are truly interested in helping, either from a development perspective, right now, I will say I'm not great at social media. So social media help is always welcome, Slava. And then just helping spread the word. I know that there's a few other platforms out there that are either being mentioned or tuned. I know one was mentioned on the thread itself, and I don't know the state of those things. I will say I'm not involved in those. So just so there's no confusion, thing.pub is its own standalone universe and all that. Yeah, so I would say those are the two places, is Threads or the website specifically. And then obviously with your podcast and the video that you guys will be putting up as well, those are great places. You can reach out to me. I'll lurk the comments. So, just...
Perfect.
I'll mention it. I don't have much of a YouTube presence because I again just remade all my socials this year. But yeah, so I'll definitely be lurking in the comments. So if you want to chat with me there, that's also another place I would say.
Well, we put promotional videos, call them, well, they are called shorts. We put our shorts on Threads too.
Oh, okay.
So we'll tag you there,
Yeah.
and you can lurk that. And if anybody wants to talk on our thread, pun intended, I guess, you can view it there.
Yeah, so I just remembered this. What's today? The 9th. Yeah. So on next weekend, I will be doing a live Q&A on my Substack. So I know I'm terrible at plugging things. I do have a Substack for thing.pub specifically. That's where all the newsletters go through, just because it's free and I don't have to worry about trying to manage a whole entire newsletter.
Yeah.
I got enough on my plate. I'd rather be developing. So on there, I'll be doing a live Q&A through their like live service that they have now on Substack. And so if you're interested or you want to like chat with me on that, that's another place that you guys could go. And if you guys want, I can send you the link to the event invite if you want to post that before it goes. I don't know when your editing is going to be done though, so we'll see. But
we'll make a text post.
Yeah, we can help spread the word by posting that just natively to our platforms, and this will just come out in the summer, just the way our recording schedule is.
Got it. Cool.
But that can be a thing we can tweet out, post out, all the crap.
Okay, yeah. So
just send us the deets in. That's it.
Yeah. We'll do. That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, that's all I got for plugs.
So thanks again for joining us, Jules. You guys be sure to go follow her. Sign up for thing.pub if you're an author. Even if you don't need ARC or beta readers yet, like, let's show her that we want this to be something that becomes a reality, because that will be useful for all of us, even if it's not today, right? So thanks for tuning in. Subscribe on YouTube. We will catch you guys next time.